Are you ready for the podcast that packs a powerful punch in the world of entrepreneurship, life struggles, and the sweet science of boxing? Well, you've come to the right place. This is the Zapata brand. Now, your host, George Zapata.
Well, if you come to Berwick and you know Berwick, there's a few names that right off the bat you'll know that are legendary in this area. One of them being my guest today, Marc Nespoli. You'll know the last name Nespoli. If you're from Berwick, you know Nespoli. Comes from a long tradition, generations of grandfather, father, and brothers, sisters. He was nice enough to join me today. We're going to talk today about a lot of what he's been up to the last, about 20 years as an entrepreneur. I remember you way back in the day. So we can go a little bit. First of all, Marc, give us a little rundown of who you are, how you grew up in Berwick, and where you went to school and what have you.
Well, can we touch on that legendary comment first?
Yeah, no, it's legendary.
Do you want to go a little bit deeper on that? How legendary?
A legendary meaning you got like 4 or 5 of the top names. Top probably Crispin. You have Orlando's, Delos, Tuzi's, Nespoli's. There's a bunch of other ones.
You're going to make me blush.
No, well, I'm just telling you. That'd be good for the camera.
Well, it's a little warm anyway, so.
It is. It's about 95 degrees here.
Right.
Humid. And with these lights on, it is killing me.
Yeah.
But either way, thanks for coming to the podcast. So let's start right away. If you can, give me a little rundown of who you, or where, like, give me the idea of what's your earliest memory here of Berwick?
Oh, man. I've been here most of my life. I've lived in Berwick. I'm 43 years old. I've lived in Berwick, I think, 37 of them. Mm-hmm. So to go back to my earliest memory, man, you're talking about childhood and growing up. And
right. And how many in the family?
I have 3 brothers and a sister. I had to think about that for a second.
3 brothers and a sister, including you. So that you're talking.
Yeah. So there's 5 kids.
5 kids.
Mom, dad. Dog,
both
Jake,
educated.
Luke.
Both educated.
Yeah.
Okay.
Both of them are teachers.
Yeah.
Grandfather, Joe Nespoli Sr., was an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. He opened Nespoli Jewelers, I think, sometime in the 50s.
Right.
And so some of my earliest memories in the community of Berwick involved my grandfather and his commitment to the community and the entrepreneurial spirit. He was on the board of directors for so many different organizations, BIDA, the State Board of Governors, the Berwick School Board, any social club he was involved in. So my earliest memories in the community in that space are with my pop-up.
Right. So now you're in high school. Let's just say, where'd you go to elementary school?
Salem Elementary.
You always lived that area?
Yeah, we were on East Front Street and East 3rd Street growing up.
Okay, so you go to Salem. When is your first entrepreneurial, venture? Was it mowing grass, paper route?
I mean, mowing grass.
Kids at
actually,
school.
I'm thinking back now on East 3rd Street, corner of 3rd and Line.
Okay.
We had a wonderful old woman named Mrs. Hiller.
Okay.
Lived right down the street. And she would pay me a quarter every week to take her garbage out. Mm-hmm. But beyond that, we would always clean up around the house for her. And on 3rd Street back in the day, the whole street was lined with these trees, and there was a huge bird problem. And these birds would poop everywhere, just cover the sidewalks. And, this is probably 1987, so I'm like 7 years old. My brother Jonathan and I would go down with a push broom and a hose. And we would just scrub her sidewalks for $1 each. And that was the first real job I had, was cleaning Mr. Hiller's sidewalks with bird poop.
Right. So now, you and your brother Jonathan, who we'll have on shortly, both entrepreneurs. Your other siblings, your sister has a teaching degree. She's a teacher, essentially. Your other brother, Matt, out in California, still there?
Yep.
Is he in education?
No, he's in physical therapy. He sold his business, so he went to Duquesne University for physical therapy. We're not very good at taking directions or orders. None of us are very good employees. So Matt had a great job. Decided that he didn't want to work for somebody else, started his own thing, built it up, great organization, sold it a couple of years ago, and is currently working for that company until he finds the next best thing.
Right. Now, down in the West Coast, that's how it usually goes.
Right.
You don't have to do too much. Now, your other brother, Josh, works for, I would say, a nonprofit organization that really has developed Berwick. Isn't that ironic?
Yeah.
That he works for a company that really helped downtown Berwick.
Yeah.
What is that one there? That's the
Oh,
Kind
you
of
put
like
me
a
on the spot.
Habitat. Well, I mean, is it Habitat for Humanity type of deal? It's,
No, I honestly forget the name of the company. I work with them all the time. It's a great
Right.
organization. Josh and Richard, they're
Boy,
killing it. And
you're really putting it out there, huh?
I love you guys.
Oh God! So
Community strategies.
there you go. Okay, so now you're doing that. You're the entrepreneur. Your brother's an entrepreneur. They're kind of doing their thing there. When did you finally reach out and say, okay, you went to college, I went to
Penn State.
Penn State University. You got your degree in
Kinesiology.
What is it?
Kinesiology, movement science. So I went to Penn State. I had no idea what I wanted to do. I just liked Joe Paterno and Penn State football.
Okay.
So logically, I took on
Great reason.
$100,000 of debt to watch football.
Right.
And I don't regret a minute of it. But
How's your bank account feel about that?
but while I was there, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I partied a lot. I had a really good time. And then my junior year, something clicked. I was like, I should probably start going to class and studying. So I did. I always loved sports and exercise, so I picked up kinesiology, movement science, and took up a career as a personal trainer, and then got into the fitness industry. Worked at a club down in Philly and Wilkes-Barre, and then I moved back here to manage the Bloomsburg Sportsplex, which is
Oh yeah, I remember
was
that.
around 2005, I think.
Right, that's after Walmart moved out down Route 11. Right,
So
now
I did actually use my degree for 16 or 17 years.
Okay, so then you did that, and then you go from there to opening your own fitness center.
Yeah, again,
Was that in the plan or no?
No, it wasn't. I didn't plan on opening my own space. I remember having a conversation with somebody at Sheetz parking lot, like 2006. I told them what I was doing, and they were like, well, why don't you just open your own? I was like, I don't know. And then I started to think about it, and I was like, yeah, I probably should open my own. I really enjoy this. I could have more creative freedom and do it my way. And so I started to put a business plan together in 2007, and I opened Fuel Fitness in October of 2008.
Okay. Then you ran that. It was successful.
No.
And then you sold it.
Well, I started that gym with about $5,000 in my bank account.
Oof.
I leveraged networks, and this was, at the height of the banking crisis, 2008.
Oh, I can remember that well.
Yeah. So I don't know how I got approved for a loan, but I had a solid business plan. We got it opened, and then I just started to study. That's when I really became a student. Is when I'm in the trenches trying to put my stamp on something. And I read all kinds of business books. I traveled the country. I learned from some of the best fitness coaches in the country, and we brought back kettlebells to the area. We did the first group training program. We did the first 24/7 gym in the area, and we grew membership to like 12 or 1,300 people. We were killing it, and then I got bored.
Yeah, that usually does happen.
Yeah.
That happens. I don't get bored. I can't. This is all I've ever done. Unlike you went to actual school. I didn't. So this is where I ended up.
Yeah.
One of the reasons why I'm doing something like this is to do something different. But something you brought up. You said you read books.
I did.
Do you have a favorite book? I know I've got about 3 or 4 top ones that actually, I remember I got audio books when I was baking at night, because I used to bake at night, every night, over the night. And I used to just by myself listen to the books. Was there 2 or 3 books that you got that you said, wow, this one really put me into a different stratosphere?
There were a few books that were catalysts, and they're kind of cliche to even say right now, but actually my manager at Odyssey Fitness in Wilkes-Barre, this is probably 2002, 2003.
What was his name? Do you remember it?
No.
Was it Noggle?
No.
Because I knew a guy Noggle up
Aaron.
there. Aaron. That might be him. Big guy, bald head.
Yeah, I forget his last name.
Yeah. I thought it was Noggle. I think it was Aaron Noggle, I think.
Nice guy.
Yeah, very nice guy.
Yeah.
Yep.
So he made us read books, which I wasn't, to that point in my career, I had read Larry Bird Drive, Charles Barkley Outrageous, Lawrence Taylor Over the Edge. That was the extent of my reading. So he's like, you got to start reading these books.
But you got a lot of tips out of Lawrence Taylor book.
Yeah, I was living on the edge. So the first book was Andrew Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. Right. So I got into it.
One of my favorite too.
Well, what was cool is, I didn't know this, but my pop-up was one of the first books he read after the war. Was Andrew Carnegie's.
Wow.
And that was one of the catalysts for him to get into the entrepreneurial world himself. And I found his original copy and read that.
Ain't that something?
So yeah, it was really cool. I still have the book. And, at that age, I was still pretty impressionable trying to figure out my way. So it really left an imprint on my mind. And then a buddy of mine in State College, Rob, a mentor of mine in the fitness world, recommended Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Oh, I read that. Great book.
So I read that on the
He's a little
stoop.
kooky now.
He's a little kooky.
He's a little out there.
Yeah, but the principles in it were eye-opening. At that time, they were very eye-opening for me. I read that on the stoop at the laundromat in Manayunk in about 3 days. And then I was like, oh, man, there's something bigger out there. Like we can,
when I first read that, I thought it was a little bit of a scam because I used to see him late night TV.
Yeah.
Like, this can't possibly. But then you read it, and all the principles fit together.
Yeah.
You're like, man, this is perfect.
Yeah.
This is exactly what it is. So that kind of changed my thought.
Yeah.
Is there a third book? So I'm looking for one to see if
there's a lot of books, but those two really kind of directed me and put me on the path to where I am now. The third book that changed the way that I looked at business, and my mind shifted from, all right, here's the product and here's the profits. It went, all right, here's the people and here's the product, and then the profits will come. Okay, so you make it about the people, you make it about relationships, and you build value. So that book is called The Go-Giver.
Oh, I didn't read that. I have it on audiobook. I didn't. But
give it a, I mean, on audiobook, it's a very short book. It's really simple read, simple concepts. But that's one I've read probably 5 or 6 times, and it talks about value and what value is, which is it's a very important lesson.
Right, and I didn't know if you read it. I read it, the E-Myth, Michael Gerber.
Yep. That was another one.
By far my favorite, because that kind of really put my entrepreneurial spirit into, hey, you got to work on your business, not in it. I mean, I was, and you've known me years. I was 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and sometimes bigger isn't better.
Yeah,
it just wasn't for me. At that point, you burn out. Then you hit the crisis, of course. But so now you sell Fuel Fitness. You're there. When did the real estate mind start?
So I told you I traveled the country learning from guys that were a lot smarter than me, guys and girls. And I was on a flight to Louisville, Kentucky, and I just grabbed a book in the airport. It was a tax book, and I read it on the flight down. It was about real estate investing for tax benefits. And at these were masterminds down there. We'd go down into Kentucky, and we'd sit around a big table with 12 of us for 3 days, and we would go around and just talk about our business and what we're doing. And this was 2013. I said, hey, you know what? I don't want to talk about fitness today. I want to talk about real estate. When I go back, I'm going to buy a house. And so...
A house to own or a house to flip?
A house to flip, and then a house to own and rent. Okay. So I didn't know how I was going to do it. I didn't know anything about real estate. I just came back, and then I started reading more books, and I figured it out. And actually, there was a lot of Rich Dad, Poor Dad series. I forget the names of the books, but they were all about real estate investing.
You know what the craziest thing is? What you just said. You said, I didn't know how I was going to do it. I was just going to do it. That is the mindset that I think us have. Yeah. You don't know how you're going to do it, but you kind of figure it out. I think everything you can figure out.
All right.
There's a solution to everything. Whether you know the solution or your friend knows, who knows a friend who knows, there is always a solution. You could figure it out. Yeah. So go ahead.
Well, I didn't know anything about real estate. I had no intentions of getting out of the fitness business, but I knew that my earning potential was limited unless I expanded or created other business models, which I did with Extreme Row. But I didn't have retirement. I didn't have a lot of savings. So I knew I needed to do something a little bit differently. I looked at real estate as that means to kind of build a savings account. I had my first child in 2012. I was like, oh, man, I really need to start saving for college. And real estate just made a lot of sense. So when I got back, I made a couple phone calls. I read these books. I figured out how to leverage debt. And I bought 3 houses within the next 12 months and flipped a 4th.
Okay.
And that was my start. And
now, when you first started, how scared were you? You're saying you're now all right. So you had debt, Penn State, good debt, essentially. You got a degree.
Yeah,
you got a degree. Okay, you further your education. Now you have debt with a ton of zeros at the end.
Yeah.
Okay, that has to scare the crap out of you.
It didn't, because don't forget, I owned a business now for 5 or 6 years at that point, and that business had debt, and that debt wasn't really secured by anything other than my book of business. So now I had real estate that was, I had debt with it, but I also had an asset to protect the debt. My loan to value on it was, I think it was, my first one was 75%. So I had equity in it right away of 25%, and my tenants were paying for the debt.
Mm-hmm.
I learned really quickly how to look at a deal and say, okay, if I buy this house and I factor in 10% of gross income for vacancy each year, I'll still have enough money. As long as I don't live on that money, I'll have enough money to pay my bills.
Okay, good.
Okay.
So you did that. You come back. You flip your fourth house at that point.
Well, there's a first flip.
First
the first
flip.
3 I held on to.
Okay, you hold on to
Yeah.
them. Okay, and you currently rent them out or no?
Let me think. I still own.
Damn, you got to think.
I still own one of those. So my game has changed a little bit in the real estate investing world. Now what I do is I buy and I play the capital gains market where I'll hold on for a minimum of 2 years. And then once I have solid equity in a property, I'll turn it and then go buy 1 or 2 more. So I'm realizing my gains. So you see a lot of people with your primary residence.
No tax when you sell it.
No tax on your primary, but that's for most people, that's their primary source of wealth is in their primary residence. And for most people, that's never realized. They will it to their kids or they never tap into those
Not
gains.
me. They ain't getting nothing.
Sorry, kids.
If I have a quarter left, I'm going to swallow it.
Yeah.
They are not getting a dime from me.
No, well, I'll get mine a quarter.
No, because I work too damn hard. I want them to develop too. You know, I mean, what? They're going to get the bagel shop. They're going to get whatever.
We can talk about that. There's lots of ways to teach them those lessons and help them get gains.
You deal with Jax, don't you? He's a little wild cannon every now and then.
He can be tamed.
No, I don't think so. But so now you're doing. So you go into the investing market now.
Into the investing market. Yeah.
Now, what year are we at now? Where you're investing starting
was
really
2000. It's 2013 or 14. I can't remember. I have a terrible memory.
And at that point, it's pretty smooth. You know?
No, it's not smooth at all.
Well, I mean, as far as interest rates were low.
The housing market was recovering at that time.
From 2008.
So rates were still low. I think we were coming back up to where 2008 values were, which are still so much lower than they are right now. So the first house I bought, I think I got it for $40,000, 40 or 45. I put some work into it. So I renovated it twice during the time I had it. And the person I sold it to recently sold it for, I think, $130,000 last year.
Okay.
So that was in a 10-year period, that property's value, even though I did renovate it, I made it nicer than when I bought it. But that property's value doubled. Naive with numbers, not really understanding how things work, and didn't understand inflation at that point in time. I'm going to buy 2 houses per kid. I'm going to pay them off, and then I'm going to use those properties to pay for their education. Well, now, fast forward 10 years, I'm like, I don't know if I want my kids to go to college. So strategies change, theories change, and in that period of time, I learned about the power of debt or debt management when it comes to real estate and leveraging your equity in those positions to go expand and grow elsewhere.
Would you mind going into I don't want my kids to go to college? I know it's controversial.
Yeah.
But you as an entrepreneur, me as an entrepreneur, your brother, your grandfather, your mom and dad were educators.
Right.
So, and I'm married to an educator.
Yeah.
So their mentality is a little different than ours.
Well, again, education doesn't stop and start at 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. It's going on all day long. So I'm a big believer in education. But this is a supercomputer.
And I say that. I say that all the time.
And you have 16-year-olds in their basement making $1 million right now using digital marketing and social media.
Right.
There's 2-year degrees. There's community colleges where you can build these skills and be readily prepared to make a very good earning right out of high school without any debt. So I think to send a kid out of high school at 17 or 18 years old, they have no idea what they want to do yet. So why would you straddle them with that debt straight out of the gate, just saying, hey, you know what, that's what we've always done. We've always gone to college. Who cares if it's $70,000 a year? We'll figure it out later. But you're paying $70,000. You're only paying $30,000 a year. And then your son or your daughter, they graduate from college and they've got $100,000 of debt, and their starting salary is $35,000 a year. And their debt to income is just trash for the next 5 or 10 years. And now they can't buy a house. So what are we preparing them for? What's the goal with a 4-year degree if you don't know what you want to do? If you have somebody who wants to go to college and they know, I'm going to be a vet, or I'm going to be a doctor, then yeah, obviously go to college right away. But if you're somebody like me who was a C student and has no idea what he wants to be when he grows up, probably not a good idea to go to a 4-year university right out of the gate.
So that leads me to my next question.
Yeah.
How do you fix that? Because I think the propaganda, I say it's propaganda because me and my wife fight all the time about it.
Yeah.
And Rich is a teacher too, so I got to be careful here.
Yeah.
I just don't feel, but that college is necessary. I think they look at that very highly. When I know a lot of smart people who did not go to college, I did not finish high school. Mm-hmm. Not to say that I'm smart. That's just it. How do you fix that though?
Fix the perception
because you got to fix the perception, because there is no Fortune 500, Fortune 200 company going to hire a very extremely smart CEO of their company unless they have 5-year degree, tons of letters after their last name. That's just true.
I don't want to devalue a 4-year degree. Again, there's some professions where you need it.
Oh, I agree.
Okay.
Yeah, lawyer, doctor.
But what I'm saying is you don't just throw a kid into college right out of high school because that's what you've always done. You let them marinate a little bit, get some seasoning, and see what they really want to do. Community college is a great thing. Okay, going into an LCC, saving a couple of bucks, staying at your parents' house or wherever until you figure out what path you want to go down is brilliant. For what I did in fitness, I could have done that. I could have found a 6-month internship traveling into the best gyms in the country, paid my way, and been better prepared for what I did right out of the gate with no debt at all. I could have put it on a credit card to cover my expenses for 6 months, and that's it. But you're always learning. Mm-hmm. Okay, education is very, very important. It's just figuring out what you want to do. Our jobs in the schools right now is we want to prepare kids. We want to teach kids how to learn. We want to teach them how to read and write and do math and all these things. We want to teach them how to socialize and be pliable. But we want to nurture their creativity too, and I think sometimes we're stymieing that a little bit.
And are we stymieing that from the top? Obviously, they have to, the people underneath have to take the orders from the top, and we will go into that a little bit.
Yeah.
Minimally, if you don't mind.
No, I don't care.
Okay, so
I'm an open book.
Okay, well, that's fine.
Unless you ask me a question I don't want to answer.
Okay. The school system. Mm-hmm. That is a hot topic.
A little bit.
You are now running for school board. Mm-hmm. And full disclosure, you did get the majority of the votes.
Yeah.
So I would say you're the front runner.
If you look at votes,
right you would. Mm-hmm. That's both sides.
Yeah.
Democrat, Republican. How, if you go in there to a system that has been the same way for decades?
I don't think it's been the same way for decades.
As far as how to process change? Because there's not going to be a change.
Well, why not?
I just don't think people have the guts to change.
Well, if you're dumb enough, you do. And I'm dumb enough.
I think people, and I think we need people that are going to say, hey, look, I'm tired of the nonsense. The kids should be taught in school.
Yeah, so when you say decades, I guess technically we're talking 2 decades. Because I think that's when No Child Left Behind came
that started.
Right? Was that 2003?
Yeah, they basically threw me out of school. I mean, I was absent once a week since my junior year, sometimes twice. I never made a complete week.
Yeah.
They came in 94, 93 and just said 21 days, that's it. The kids out there right now listening to this, I started that rule. Mm-hmm. 21 days and you're out. That's it. You can't not pass. Then here comes no student left behind.
Yeah.
I waltzed all through. Went right through. I didn't pass because I just didn't show up.
Yeah.
If I would have showed up, they just would have passed me.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying is it takes something. I guess people don't want to upset the apple cart. So are you coming? And I'm not saying, stop me when you feel.
Well, we're talking about a number of different things here. We're talking, state and federal level and local level. On the local level, I don't think you can impact the changes that you're talking about.
Correct.
But as a school board member on a local level, you do have somewhat of a voice to get to that state level. and you can get the ears of a state senator or a congressman, and you can have those conversations to say, hey, you know what? Maybe our standardized testing protocol is a little silly. Maybe we shouldn't take a third grade student who has an attention span of 15 minutes and make them sit and take a test for 2 hours after we just pump them full of sugar. Probably not a good idea. Probably not a good metric for what they're learning or how the teachers are doing. Right? So maybe we should take that standardized test. And by the way, there's no funding tied to your performance unless it's really bad. Then you get some money. Maybe we should look at
But
those.
there's funding tied to how many people take that test.
How many people? Right. Not how you do.
Right.
Okay. So what do we do?
If they're having a student, if they're saying a third grader, you're going to take this test, or else we're not getting the funding from the state, what do you think that school's going to do? That would be the school board all the way down. What are they going to do?
Well, now you're getting into the nuance of something here. Again, you start at the state level. I don't know what their mandates are for how they take the test. Do they have to get them done in a week or 2 weeks, or can you expand that out? Do you have to sit for an hour or 2 hours, or can you split up one test? So these are very simple things. Let's model the test to your physiological growth. A third grader cannot sit and concentrate and read. They can barely read. Okay, how are we going to have them take a test for an hour at that age? And again, we're giving them like these protein bars that are loaded with sugar in the morning. There's candy carts all over the school. We're trying to reward them, but we're rewarding with a bad habit that's going to make them lose focus to begin with. So, and we are using those scores to judge your teachers and to judge the performance of the school. And it's just not an accurate assessment of what's happening.
Okay.
So you go to the state senators or whoever, the Board of Education, whatever, and we say, look, let's break this test up. It's a 60-minute test. Let's sit down and take it over 3 20-minute sessions. And between each 20-minute session, instead of giving them candy, let's go out and run. Let's go run around the track, or let's play kickball for 15 minutes.
I think that's a good idea.
Right.
I do.
Because that's going to nurture growth. It's going to encourage them. That's a positive reward for sitting and taking this test. How do you get more kids to take the test? Well, you stop putting so much emphasis on their performance, for one, but then you connect with students in the school and you engage and you get them to come in and try a little bit harder. Because they don't want to let you down when they like you. If you look when my dad was teaching, again, I think my siblings and I were poor employees because we don't like working for other people. We like to do things our way.
And again, I love that concept.
Right.
Could we have that mentality?
Well, when my dad was teaching, he didn't go out of a textbook. He wasn't. We weren't looking at we weren't reading a novel and taking 40 question tests. We were taking a 10 question essay, and then he would sit and make us challenge him on our grade. Okay, so we read a book, we read a chapter. He asks us 10 questions. He grades the questions. I miss 3, and he says, "Mark, I want you to challenge me. Tell me why you're right, and tell me why I'm wrong." Like, that's how you learn, right? You engage, you have debate, and you challenge one another so that you can grow.
Right.
Now we're just circling little letters, like Mike Seaver did on growing pains. You just draw boobies.
Or
with your,
me.
Yeah.
Or what I did. I was the first one done on those tests
too,
every
'cause I
single time.
did not care.
I didn't care. I didn't care because I knew what's the difference.
Right.
They're gonna stick me in this class. They're gonna pass me through. Who cares? I'm not there much of the time anyway. And I wasn't a bad kid. We all had our issues, but I didn't disrupt the class. It just never showed up.
Yeah.
Because I didn't like it. And I could see when some kids say, I don't like going to school. I know. I get it. I understand.
No, I liked recess, gym class, and lunch.
Yep. Just like my kids.
Yeah,
That's
especially
another
taco day.
Linden's
I crushed taco day. I had those big boats, the big taco boats.
Yeah.
I would get doubles of those, and I'd buy like 4 trays.
Oh.
And then I'd go to the library, get the newspaper, and do some business before I head back.
Not me. We didn't have that. We didn't have that luxury.
Yeah.
We weren't named Nespoli.
I had nothing to do with it.
Full pockets when we were trying to get a quarter. We didn't have that there.
Well, you should have worked for Mrs. Hiller.
Miss Hiller.
Should have washed her sidewalks.
No, we didn't do that. We'd probably rob Miss Hiller for whatever she had.
She was the best. I love her.
So now we're now approaching your later career. Now you get into real estate.
Yeah. So, all right. So real estate, started investing 13, 14. The gym peaked. I don't want to say grew bored with it. I wasn't being challenged anymore. I started the Extreme Rose. We had like 100 personal training clients. We were doing really well, and I just needed something different. It was burn. I'd been doing this for 17 years at that point. So I sold everything, and I was going to invest full time, but I needed something to do in the meantime, so I got my sales license, and that was just supposed to be like a part-time
sales license,
like real estate sales, and I was going to be a realtor until I figured out what I wanted to do next, and it was pretty easy, so I just kept on doing it, and that's where we are now.
Yeah. So you say it's easy,
simple. I shouldn't say easy. It's simple.
You get in there. And we've talked numerous times, and we always say we're 24/7 on the clock because shit happens all the time. Someone wants to look at a house, you're going, because you don't know if that sale's never going to be there. They're coming in to the shop here. You know what I mean? So if they come in, obviously they're buying. It's not like I have to sell them on why they come here. Else they'll just go to Dunkin' Donuts, McDonald's. So when did you first see a little disruption in the market? Because I always say we're a little bit of a bubble here only because the house prices are not real high, but they're not real low. You can get some real shitty ones. But, if you got a family of 4, a family of 3, 120.
Well, let's back up for a second because I do want to clarify that I always used to say it's simple but not easy. And that's to when I was in the fitness industry, losing weight, simple but not easy.
Right.
Okay. Well, the same is true in a real estate career in the sales side. The process is simple if you're organized and you understand how it works. So when I came into the business, I ran my real estate career as if it was a standalone entity. So work the system, right? Or the E-Myth. I built a system that worked and allowed me to leverage my time quite well. And allowed me to sell a lot of real estate. Okay. So I just wanted to clarify that. It was simple for me because I had systems for everything, for lead generation, for lead follow-up, and for the sales process.
There's no knock on that. There's no knock on that. You're saying that. I got what you were saying.
As far as a disruption in the market, I mean, right now, I wouldn't call it a crash, but there's certainly, we're certainly seeing the impacts of COVID right now.
Okay. So let's go into that a little bit. Because I have my personal feelings on it. Whether I'm right or wrong, I don't know a thing about real estate. All I know is I bought a house one time real cheap. I sold it, and I made money. Yeah. That is it.
Good job.
And it was just personal residence. I just sold it because I got divorced. It wasn't planned that way. So the way I looked at it, I saw all these people getting approved for homes. That kind of raised my eyebrows a little bit. And I'm like, okay, maybe... Does this in any way, remind you of 2005, 2008?
No, it doesn't. That was caused by the banks. Big banking was just doing a lot of things that they should not have been doing. And that was before my time, but they were lending to people they shouldn't have been lending to, and they were lending above 100%. So if your house was worth $100,000, they were giving you 105. Not a good way to succeed.
Right.
Okay. So that's what caused the crash in 06 to 08.
Now, the Frank Dodd bill kind of put a nix to that, where you're not going to get that creative financing of over. But I do see some
There's still
stuff,
creative financing, but not like that.
Not like that. No. I mean, I didn't even give the guy my pay stub.
Back then.
Yeah. He literally cleared me without a pay stub.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a lot of shitty stuff going on.
You think?
That's why we ran into what we did. Now, this is completely different, in my opinion. Somebody may disagree. This is an inventory shortage, and this was the trajectory before COVID. We were short on new starts for 20 years. I mean, so new construction were decreasingly, or they were down lower and lower each year. So the new homes were not keeping up with the home owners. Okay, so the supply of homes was decreasing steadily. And this is probably since I got my license in 2017 or 18, we've seen a steady, very, very slight decline in inventory.
A decline, meaning new
homes
starts?
No, total homes for sale. Okay, now, so new starts is part of it. Okay, COVID accelerated that because COVID shut everything down. For 3-4 months, everything was shut down. Real estate was shut down longer than that in Pennsylvania.
Restaurants were. Yeah, I know some that didn't make it.
Some didn't come back. So that really contributed to the inventory shortage. There are other factors. You have the institutional buyers like Vanguard and BlackRock. That really hasn't hit in this market here. But mom and pop investors like myself have. Airbnb investors have. So these things, we have more secondary homeowners, more investors, and you have less properties coming on the market. Now, selling your home is great because inflation's high and your prices are high. But where are you going to go to?
I know that's what's
where are you going to go to? And if I think it's 61% of homeowners right now have an interest rate of 4% or lower, and 95% are at 6 or lower. I didn't look to see what they were today.
That's what I mean. Why are you moving to get less house?
People are still moving. You still have first-time home buyers are still buying, and you have people who are downsizing are still buying, and cash buyers are still buying. So people are still buying. There's homes are selling every day, and they're selling at a high price point. So you don't necessarily need to have the same number of transactions to still make a good living in real estate right now. But the whole industry is about to turn, and there's other things that are happening with lawsuits with NAR, which is the National Association of Realtors.
Lawsuits meaning?
Well, I don't know enough about that to speak intelligently to it.
Okay.
We'll just say it involves some commission stuff. But the inventory thing right now, to me, is the biggest crisis we have in housing, and I attribute it to those things. It's new starts, the shutdown with COVID, Airbnb, institutional buyers, mom and pop buyers.
So that causes more of a slowdown as opposed to a crash. Crash meaning you get foreclosures.
What could cause a crash? Again, this isn't started by predatory lending like in 2008, but what could cause a crash right now is job loss. So if you see unemployment starting to inch up.
That's exactly what I said about 2 weeks ago on the podcast.
Yeah.
I said, interest rates don't affect my business. Unemployment affects my business.
Right.
Because they ain't coming in for a coffee and a bagel if they ain't got money for groceries or gas.
Yeah.
So and I do see that coming.
I think it's going to come quicker than we think with artificial intelligence. I mean, I don't think any jobs are really safe.
No, I mean,
blue and white collar. There's going to be job loss. We're not going to be able to control it. It's going to take us some time to catch up, so we need to be prepared for it. Does that mean everything's going to crash? No, it doesn't. But I would love to see. I'm not a big fan of big government, but I wouldn't mind some regulations coming to slow that down a little bit, so we have time on artificial intelligence and the speed at which it's coming.
Oh, you're really going against the giant there. That is, I mean...
Yeah, let's edit that out.
I mean, think about it. No, but I'm saying, you think Elon Musk, Bill Gates, Warren Buffett's too old, I think, to even care. Guys like that are not... If they can make more money by cutting out more jobs, they're doing it, and they're doing it quick.
Yeah.
And I mean, I like Elon Musk. I think he's a great entrepreneur. But he ain't worried about anybody's pocket but his.
Yeah, you're probably
so. I mean,
right.
you got to understand that, and that'd be anybody in business. Mm-hmm. Hell, I mean, as far as in that level, our level it's different. We're just we're kind of hanging on, trying to figure it out. But they're billionaires. Yeah. They're in a whole different bubble. They're just hanging out, doing whatever. But do you think they're going to regulate that? Boy,
no, do I think so?
Or no,
I said I hope
should
so.
they? I wouldn't even want to hope. I mean, I think we're smart enough to figure that out.
I don't know. It's kind of like what you said before about colleges. How do you change that perception? I think that is taking care of itself. We're kind of jumping around here, but enrollment's down on colleges because prices are up and the value's down. Mm-hmm. So can artificial intelligence and job loss, does that self-regulate, or do you need intervention?
I'd like to see it self-regulate only because I love seeing entrepreneurs coming up, people coming up, go through the struggle, go through the grind, and then bang, finish off at that finish line, score that touchdown. I like seeing that and going through that, not just saying, okay, you can't do this because this affects this. I mean, that don't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
But will it slow it down? I mean, just even in the last 6 months, I mean, you probably listen to the same podcasts I do. It is incredible, the stuff that's coming out. Yeah. Incredible. I can't believe how fast this stuff.
I know. I need to balance out my listening because sometimes if I go too far this way, I'm like, oh, shit.
Go back. I know. But even setting up a podcast 4 years ago, you could do it, but you have to do stuff. 2 years ago, a little easier. I bought this thing right here a month. Mm-hmm. I thought about it for a year, 2 years, but a month.
Yeah, we talked about it not that long ago.
I mean, I'm like thinking, holy cow, this is how fast it's moving, and it's like, man, this definitely something we got to look at. As far as my business goes, I don't know what I can do. Your business, I'm sure they're doing stuff virtually.
Yeah,
with your company.
Yeah, my company is that we
and if you don't mind,
Verbella. Yeah, so EXP Realty is EXPI World Holdings. We own a number of different companies, publicly traded. We have a platform called Verbella, which during COVID, the stock shot up because we can host virtual classrooms and things of that nature. So universities and other companies were buying the platform to kind of, it was an alternative to Zoom where you can have an avatar and things like that. The company is growing fast with technology. Okay.
Good or bad for you? Meaning,
for me personally, I don't think it makes a difference.
Okay, but someone who's just coming in
for
now.
somebody just coming in, I think the real estate profession is going to, and this is all speculation. I can't predict the future.
Well, it's your opinion, so it's right.
Right. Yeah, of course. Especially in my house, if I'm talking to my wife, it's definitely right.
You and me both have that same issue. I'm just a little smarter than my wife.
Yeah,
I like to think that.
My wife's a little bit smarter than me, but I don't tell her that.
I believe that.
Yeah. You believe that my wife's smarter than me? Or
I do.
Yeah,
I do.
Why do you believe that? I was just joking.
She just carries herself a lot better than you.
Well, she showers and
stuff
other than t-shirts and bathing suits.
Yeah, just walks around just scratching her ass. No, that's you.
Yeah, I'll work on it.
It's amazing how your process from washing the bird shit
poop
off of.
I was barefoot too because I didn't want to get my sneaker
God. That's nasty, dude.
New zips from Angela's shoes. I didn't want to get them dirty.
Oh my God, that's nasty.
Yeah.
At least you had shoes, unlike the Puerto Rican that I am. We couldn't afford that crap. You probably had the Reebok pumps.
No, I had the zips.
No, but bull.
I had the
pumps.
zips. They were great shoes.
Oh God! So you had that all the way through. You've gone through, and I always look at it as seasons with what I'd gone through. We opened this business in '96 where it was the .com boom, a bust. So I've gone through 3 really, shifting of the markets. We went to the .com, which you weren't around that much. That was '96.
Yeah.
You were probably in school, college.
Yeah, I'm a lot younger than you.
Thanks, Mark. Then I went through, the next one was probably 9/11 a little bit.
Yeah.
9/11 a little bit. 05 to 08, holy roller coaster. Hold on, because we went for a ride. That was the worst economic spiral I've ever been in my entire life. You talk about having financial issues.
Yeah.
Oh, holy cow. It is never a good morning when you wake up. It says negative 77,000 in your bank account, and it's red, bright.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, that ain't good. And you have an employee hand you a check, say, hey, this is no good.
I was so naive in that time. I was 25 years old. I was just trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I didn't even know what was going on in the world around me at that point in time.
I don't think you know now.
No.
just a point.
No. Little more in tune right now.
No, you are.
I imagine if I knew what was happening in that period of time, I would have been much more cautious. Because I know. I took on so much debt.
Man,
at the peak of that.
We did too. Us as a company.
Yeah.
We took on the debt and had our business was going 24/7. We had all the grocery stores, we had the hospitals, we had the university, we had everything. Mm-hmm. In 2 days, the biggest supermarket chain north here pulled out. The day after that happened, so I'm thinking it's not so bad. I still got all the college, and they pull out.
What were they pulling out for?
Just it was a price issue with them. Because, and then believe it or not, grocery stores are like penny, half penny. Mm-hmm. It's not a lot. So
volume.
It's just volume. So if you're 30 cents, someone's 28 cents, they're going with the 28 cents. I'll never forget what the CEO of that company told me. Because I'm like, but this is Georgie Bagels. You're going to get the best. He goes, if my customers eat shit, I'm going to feed them more shit. I was like, okay, I know where I stand now. I was like, all right, I guess I'll just move on to this. I lost this account. And then I lost all the colleges up there north, which you're talking almost $400,000 in 2 days.
So how'd you recover?
I just had a shift.
Yeah.
I nearly went bankrupt twice. I was so stupid. I did it twice.
Yeah.
I was like, now I'm going to do it. And I figured,
some people do it more than that and become president.
Let's not get into the president, please.
That's the only one.
No, Jesus, this would be pulled off YouTube so fast. I mean, I don't even know. We can't get political, please. I just don't want.
I don't even know what politics are.
I just stay out of it. I don't even. People come in and ask me, I don't even know. It's just,
No, I don't know.
What are you going to do?
Who's the president?
So basically, getting out of it was similar to just you did. You got into the books, got into the reading, downsized for a little bit, and then at some point, obviously the divorce had something to do with it. I said, I'm just pulling everything together and refocusing on the business. Mm-hmm. COVID hits. I think I'm the only man in America that ever got money out of a divorce, like at least had money left over.
Yeah.
And then because usually it all just goes, but we split it. So I had mine and I just kept it. COVID hits and that was it. I mean, I was kind of in recovery mode at that point. I was still in recovery mode, but at that point I wasn't even, my business wasn't even, I wasn't even thinking about my business. I was just trying to survive and keep my family together. And
you always had the storefront though, and you've always had good relationships with your customers, and you do put the value in that. That's part of your brand, is the value or the personal touch that goes with that. I think that probably helped carry you through some of those periods.
I think it did. I think people said, "Oh, geez, and it's good and bad. It's good and bad." And I sold my house to a woman who was coming from Arizona, Phoenix, and I'm like, Berwick is good and bad, meaning it's small and it's good, and it's bad because it's small. Meaning, if you do very well, they want to see you do well.
Yeah, trust me.
But if you do bad,
I know
you'll be on the front page of the Press Enterprise, and I've been there.
Yeah,
I'm like, oh shit, this ain't good.
They
love you, they will because they also love a comeback story.
Yeah,
and but you have to be careful because boy, oh boy, you're going to be hello.
But that's not look. I'm an adult. I'm an adult in the community I grew up in, and that there's benefits to that.
They would call you a super senior back home.
But there's benefits to that, but there's also there's things that aren't so great about that, like what you just said.
Just a small town.
Yeah, people that you don't know can root against you sometimes. But that used to bother me way back in the day. I don't really care anymore because the reality is, when I'm dead, nobody's going to care after 30 days.
Yeah, I know. No, that's a good point. Right? I never really thought of that.
Nobody cares.
Shit.
My dog will forget me after 30 days.
Well,
so I don't care. I'm just going to do what's best for my family, my friends, my community. What I feel is right. As long as I'm doing what I believe is right, I don't care if
because again, like I said, you are right with your opinion.
Yeah, and trust me, I've been wrong a lot. I've done things that were wrong, and I try to recover from them. But everybody's going to make mistakes. And the people that are rooting against you are the loudest when you do make those mistakes. They've got their own, and they're projecting a little bit.
When we went out to Vegas, and I was on Sean Porter's podcast, the Porterway podcast, subscribe on YouTube. And he told me before, he's like, and we were just talking, I'm thinking, and my kid is sitting over there, and he's looking at me, and I'm thinking, what the hell is he looking at? Because they put it live. It was live stream.
Yeah.
And he's looking at me, giving me this look. I'm like, what the hell? I'm just talking boxing with Sean Porter.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, what the hell? Well, you got to see the comments. Oh, my God. They were killing me.
For what?
This guy don't know shit about boxing. Who the hell is this guy?
Well, what do you know?
I don't know. It was just my opinion.
Yeah.
I didn't know. But then, you look at the comments where this guy's saying, oh, Crawford's going to kill him, whatever. But then you got a guy like, Gervonta Davis, who says, no, Spencer's going to win, which is what I said. Yeah. I said exactly what Gervonta Davis said.
Yeah.
Because I believe that. I just believe that. That's my opinion. I feel I'm right. And man, they'll pile on if you make. Oh boy! So don't.
It's silly.
It is silly. I want to see people grow. I want to see. If the candles are lit and you think that I want mine. No, I'm going to light yours so you can have a candle too.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So why?
When I shine, you shine.
Yeah. That's it.
I just had this conversation with my kids the other day. I was, I might tease them once in a while. And I said to my youngest daughter, she asked me to do something. I was like, oh, of course, because you're so cute. She's 4 years old. I was like, yeah, you can do that. You're so cute. And my other two looked at me like they were pissed off because I didn't call them cute.
Yeah, Jack gets that way.
Yeah, I go, listen, just because I called her cute doesn't mean you're not cute. Why do I have to praise you because I praised her? Like maybe I see some of her in you too, and that makes you cute. Why can't we all just be cute? That's
Boy, the conversation is your house. I mean,
but that's kind of like the way of the world right now. Is like it's sad in that a lot of people just root for others to fail because it makes them feel better. Whereas if you're friends with people and you see them succeed, man, that feels a lot better.
It does, because I David Kitchen.
Yeah.
I talk about him a lot.
Yeah, he's a good dude.
Great guy, and he's doing his own stuff. He's got a great thing going there with the Edge Leadership Academy. He speaks. He does podcasts. I'm trying to help. I help him out.
He's a Fuel Fitness alumni, by the way.
Great. I mean, he did well for himself.
Yeah, he's awesome.
And I want to see him succeed just as much. We're doing the same thing. We're in the same space. Mm-hmm. But I want to see him succeed. I even told him. I said, when you speak, I'd speak underneath you. Yeah. I don't speak above you. I speak underneath you. He goes, no, I've known you for so. No, I want to see you do that. I want to grow to that position.
When you build up community, when you help somebody else in your community to do better, that's just going to elevate the game for everybody else. Mm-hmm. Especially in a town like Berwick, man, where it's such a small community. If you have 3 or 4 successes, other people are going to try to emulate that, and that's a good thing.
It is a good thing. It is for here. So you wrapped up the real estate market as far as this area. You're one of the prominent ones here. What's the future now hold for Marc Nespoli?
I don't know. It's like a 7-year shift in my brain. Every 7 years, I'm like, all right, I need to try something else and try something else. So I have a couple different business plans that I've been working on, and I don't know if I'll pull the trigger on them or not. I might just keep doing what I'm doing. It's working well. I really love the time I get right now. My kids are at such a cool age, and I get to coach them and hang out with them a lot, and that's probably the most fun I have is coaching them in basketball or soccer. Mm-hmm. So if I'm able to just do what I'm doing right now and provide for my family, get to spend that time with them, I'll probably keep doing that. Mm-hmm. There are some other things I'm working on that I'm definitely doing. Whether or not they are successful or not, time will tell.
Okay. Do you want to?
Not really.
Okay, that's fine.
One of them could be a local thing, and another one is more of a digital thing.
Okay, good. But now I got a couple more questions before I wrap up. Any mentors that you had growing up, and then into the real estate? Yeah,
I mean, my career was kind of built off of the advice of mentors.
Is there any that particularly, one, started you, and then 2, put you over the hump?
Well, there's a lot of people that were, I don't even know if I'd call them mentors, but they guided me with maybe one conversation. They said something or did something that I was like, oh yeah, I got to do that. Mm-hmm. Or yeah, I need to get my act together. When I tell this story, I'm not going to say names, but I was at Pepper's Bar and Grill. I was like 22 years old. I was home from college, and a friend's uncle asked me how I was doing. I was like, yeah, I'm doing enough to get by. And he's like, what do you mean you're doing enough to get by? It's like, yeah, I'm just hanging out and doing my thing. And he got like pissed at me. He's like, no, that's not enough. You need to work harder. And that's kind of when that light bulb went off at college, where I was like, yeah, he's right. I probably should start trying. I just wasted 2.5 years. Maybe get my act together and make something happen now. I've had a lot of moments like that. But mentors, in fitness, I mentioned Rob out in State College. He's big time national strength coach. He really helped me along young in my career. I was East Coast Health and Fitness. He was a trainer there, and I kind of followed him around to learn from him as much as possible. In business, two Berwick gentlemen named Tom, another guy named John. These guys have really helped me out with the business sense. They've had massive success on their own, and they've always made themselves available to ask questions. Mm-hmm. There's some other people across the country that I've reached out to, but I definitely believe in the power of a mentor. So if you can network and get out to some meetups and meet somebody that's willing to tutor you or bring you along, definitely recommend that.
Okay, so what advice you're giving to the people who are now just embarking on their journey? I mean, the struggles that they're going to have, the downfalls, oh man, this is a disappointment. What do you say to them that you've been through that you can tell them as, hey, it's going to be good?
My pop always used to say, don't be afraid of failure. I say, fail fast, fail forward, and then get up and start again. Learn from your mistakes and keep on moving forward. Mm-hmm. You're only young once, so if you're not married, you don't have kids, you have a lot of freedom. And finance, even if you go to negative $70,000 in your bank account, you can
That'd
recover.
be me.
Yeah.
That'd be me. 77.
Yeah.
Negative 70. I've never seen a number that
And you
large.
recovered, and you had kids.
I mean, I hope I recover. I don't know. I still have PTSD.
But my point is, take risks, make sure they're calculated, and make sure you do your due diligence first. But don't let fear hold you back from really taking a leap and trusting. So,
I think a big part of that negative 77,000 was a small, tiny company named the IRS. And they didn't play games.
Yeah.
So that was, I mean, you can even recover from that.
Yeah.
And they were brutal to deal with. But I recovered.
Yeah.
So I think you're right saying, hey, don't make that mistake again, stupid.
yeah.
And you could do a lot better. Now, I'm going to do name association with you.
Oh,
I'm going
man.
to tell you somebody, and I want you to give me a couple words about them, how they affected your life, they didn't affect your life, how it was.
All right, man, this is going to be tough.
Okay.
All right, let's do it.
Ready? Okay. So first one, John Nespoli, your brother.
Yeah.
Crickets.
how did-
Wow.
Oh, you want me to go like that? Is
Yeah,
that quick?
that's who.
John Nespoli, man.
Crickets
should
would be
we-
about it.
Once upon a time in 1992, John and we went down to the river with the BB gun to shoot some birds. But instead of shooting birds, John gave me the countdown, and I had to run.
Oh, that's great. That's a great story.
Yeah, it wasn't just once.
Okay.
You know, those pump action BB guns can hurt.
Oh, God.
John was my best friend growing up. You know, he's still at the top of my list, and we do a lot together. We talk every day. He really brought me along when we were young. He included me with all his friends who I thought were cooler, and now I realize they really weren't. No, they weren't that cool. But I hung out with all
most of them.
I'm still friends with most of them.
Yeah, I know. I see him a lot too.
Yeah.
I see him a lot too.
But he was never the cool older brother. Too cool older brother. He always brought me around and let me hang out with his buddies and made sure I was getting taken care of. Now I got the snot kicked out of me by both of my older brothers, and I think that really helped me mentally and physically to toughen up and not be scared of things.
Okay. All right. Now I'll go with Katie.
You want to get me in trouble?
No, I just want a couple. Hey, because I'm sure there's nights where you've gone home and said, "Shit, man, I don't want to do this."
Yeah.
But it had to be a time where she you leaned on her.
Yeah, for sure, man. Listen, when I met Katie, I was professionally on the right path, but I was still partying a lot. I was still just out and about till 2 a.m. every morning. And she came in, and it was the first time in my life I met somebody where I actually wanted to chill and settle down. And because she had very strong family values, and I saw something in her that I connected with, and I for the first time in my life wanted to not go out at night. Okay, and she's kind of kept me balanced because I can be a loose cannon at times. I might take some chances.
Right.
So she's a good balancing act for me.
Okay.
So a lot of people will tell you, if you did this game with her, what she would say is, or the question would be, "Man, Mark, how do you deal with him?" And then she would roll her eyes and giggle. And, "Oh, it's tough. I'm not that bad."
No. Your dad.
My dad, though I didn't know it at the time, was the best teacher I ever had. There were things that he did in the classroom and out of the classroom. Remember, I said education never stops. Okay? He did things that I didn't appreciate or understand at the time. But now as an adult, I look back at it and I'm like, oh, yeah, all right, that makes sense.
You're
that
right,
makes
Dad.
sense.
You're right.
But what he did the most is taught me how to challenge him. And he didn't say challenge me. He actually challenged me to challenge him. And I think that creates an inquisitive mind and makes it so that you don't accept the status quo.
Yeah. Okay, so your grandfather, where you got the entrepreneurial spirit from, I wouldn't do due diligence if I didn't ask.
Yeah, well, he was just my hero growing up. He was such a cool guy, a war hero, Purple Heart, never graduated I think he was conceived on the boat. Parents were immigrants, didn't speak English, grew up on the West End, got beat up, the whole family, because, back then it was just a different dynamics. Came through all of that, hitchhiked to and from Philadelphia, learned how to become a watchmaker, and created his own path. Instead of going to work in the mines or work in the factory, he created his path. And that's something that in that period of time especially must have been so challenging. So that's just a really admirable thing. He was my hero growing up.
Okay.
And my brothers and I, we all just wanted to be him. I think that's why we got into business.
Okay.
Yeah.
Finally, your mom.
Yeah.
I mean, she recently just passed.
Yeah.
What do you feel now as you're going through this? You're now a parent.
Well, my mom was a very unique person. I like to talk. Okay. My mom liked to listen. So my mom would ask a question and then she would shut up and she would listen. And then she'd ask you another question. And she would never tell you about herself. She would just always ask about you and want to know more about you and keep on going. And that is an incredible skill set. It's a selfless thing that I'm still working on. It's incredibly hard. But something even more important than learning how to be a better listener is she gave us the freedom. She made us figure stuff out. So my dad challenged us. My mom made us figure stuff out. You're 10 years old. I think you need to wash your own clothes now. Okay. I think you can make your own eggs for breakfast. You could definitely put your dishes in the dishwasher. So she wasn't doing stuff for us. And again, at the time, I was like, man, my buddy's mom, they're all doing all their stuff. Like, why do I have to make my own breakfast? But when I look at it now, of course, I'm like, yeah, I became a figure-outer at 10 years old. And that's probably my greatest skill set right now is there's not a situation I can get into where I panic and don't feel confident in my ability to figure out how to fix it.
You left the Nespoli homestead better than when you first got there.
Well, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
She made you that much better.
Right. Yeah.
And that being said, I'm going to wrap up now.
Yeah.
But I will say everything I've said about you that I've heard through the real estate, through how you are in the community, has all been true. And I say that when I have every guest in here that's from here locally. I would not have someone who I wouldn't want to be sitting across having a coffee with in front of my shop. I wouldn't have that person here. I do that to show you the other side of the Marc Nespoli, the other side of the Bo Orlando, the other side of the David Kitchens. That being said, thank you for coming on the podcast. Hopefully everyone here can subscribe to the YouTube channel, the Zapata Brand Podcast. Next week, I don't know who I'll have. It may be someone that you wouldn't think I'd have on this podcast, but he may be here. That being said, don't be envious of what I've accomplished in my life. Be inspired by what you can do in yours. Thank you. Well, that wraps up the Marc Nespoli interview. We covered a lot there between the real estate, his running for school board, and actually his legacy for his parents and his grandparents and how they got here to Berwick. It was a great interview. I enjoyed it. I hope you guys did too. Well, next week, we have David Kitchen. David's going to be stopping by the studio. We're going to film it, get it out as fast as we possibly can. Well, everybody's been asking me about the Bo Orlando interview. Here's what I have to tell you. Unfortunately, we had to scrap it. The audio wasn't good. I am just as upset as you guys are. It was a great interview. Bo is a great interview. He has a lot of great stories, but unfortunately the audio just couldn't cut it. I couldn't possibly do him any justice by putting that out the way it was. I did put out some of the shorts. They were good, but that was the one section that we got that had the good audio. The other ones were not good. We're going to reshoot. Bo's been nice enough to say he would come back, he would shoot it, and we'll get that out to you as soon as possible. 2 other updates. August 13th, I'm going to have a very big celebrity in Berwick taping a podcast. After that, early September, it looks like I'll be getting another celebrity, both promoting books right here on the Zapata Brand Podcast. If you get any value out of this content, please like, subscribe, and share to the Zapata Brand Podcast. Thank you.